So, welcome to another edition of Open for Business. And today's guest is Charles Bowen of the Bowen Law Group. And he is a business attorney and an entertainment attorney. And he's here to answer a lot of questions, Bo. Thank you for being on Open for Business.
I think the probably a better description is I'm here to try to answer a lot of questions about what's going on now.
Right. So I know you deal with, lots and lots of businesses. What are they approaching you about right now? What is the number one concern that they have?
Well, I guess it's twofold. First is, are we going to be able to take advantage of any of this stimulus money that was promised by the federal government? And then looking forward, when are we going to be able to start operating again, business as usual? Not so much from a perspective of, we really want to start operating again, but more so, when can we operate again safely? I think that's been the primary concern for everyone.
So what are you telling them?
Essentially the same thing you hear on the news, which is it's impossible to say right now. I mean, you can say with certainty that we're not going to stay closed forever. You can also say with certainty that we can't just go back to complete business as usual right now.
Right.
Anything between those two extremes is all still up in the air. I think what I have heard most often, which sounds most reasonable to me, is that Georgia in particular, because it is harder hit than most states, certainly not as hard hit as, New York and Illinois and some other places, but it's in the top half easily. We're looking at needing to increase the amount of available testing and then start opening up the economy kind of in stages, letting more kind of broadening the definition of essential, still keeping social distancing in place, particularly at first, particularly with any groups larger than 5 or 10 people. And then over the course of weeks and months, as we see, we're able to control this epidemic and not see a great increase in the number of cases, continue to then slowly expand until hopefully we're then fully back to normal within a matter of months.
So I want to actually ask you some law questions.
All right.
If I'm a small business owner and I have a contract with my landlord, let's say I have a storefront and then I don't have any business, what are you going to tell that small business owner about, or the landlord? I mean, what advice do you have for somebody in that situation, which is the whole world at this point?
Sure. Well, the fact of the matter is very few contracts plan for this type of emergency and this type of contingency. Now, a lot of contracts have what they call force majeure terms in them and little sub parts of the contract in them where it talks about if you do have an emergency that legitimately keeps you from being able to live up to your responsibilities under the contract, then those provisions may apply and you may have an out there. But not all contracts have those, and even those that do, they're not worded in such a way where it's applicable to a pandemic. There's another the legal doctrine of impossibility that can apply to contracts. If you and I have an agreement that I'm going to sell you my car and, I'm abducted by aliens the next day and it's impossible for me to come and bring you the car, I'm excused if it's legitimately considered impossible. Again, not really applicable because most things are possible. They're just dangerous. So I think in reality, what we're talking about is a lot of people that are going to have to engage in business ethics and simply thinking about their fellow man. Now, I understand that not everyone can just say, I'm going to do everything for free or you're not going to ever have to pay me. But if you have a client that is, and this happens in my business, obviously I represent a lot of businesses, and a lot of businesses aren't able to operate right now. They still have some work that they're asking me to do for them, but I understand that billing may have to just, wait until they're back up and running before they can pay me. That's, I think that's going to be across the board in all businesses. We have to look out for each other right now. We have to think in terms of what can we do to support each other, help each other, and understand that this is a situation that's not any one person's doing. It's not anyone's fault. But if we're being hard hit, we're all in this together, and we've got to try to help each other. That's really the only way forward.
Would you recommend, with any outstanding contracts that you do have, just picking up the phone and just say, let's discuss this?
I think absolutely. I think that you're going to have to, I think the government ultimately is going to have to address some of these issues. They obviously, as we saw from this first round of the stimulus, which seemed like it lasted for about a couple hours, that this is a massive undertaking that, again, on a scale that this country has never seen before. But it's going to have to be addressed, because clearly there's going to be a lot of people that are put in a position where they can't live up to their responsibilities because they just simply don't have the means to do it right now. So yes, picking up a phone, saying, look, here's the situation I'm in, what can we work out, keeping it friendly. I tell my clients routinely, the number one tool at your disposal is communication. People don't sue people unless they're angry, and it's lack of communication that leads to anger 9 times out of 10. So if you can talk about it and everybody's willing to be reasonable, try to help each other, I think we're going to get through this fine.
Do you recommend actually creating another MOU or another contract during this period, or what do you recommend?
I mean, I think it's possible. You can certainly do an addendum to a contract and keep it very formal, but I think a better idea, which is just as effective, would be when you have that conversation and you're able to reach an agreement, simply memorialize it in an email back and forth and say, it was really a pleasure speaking with you today. I appreciate what you're willing to do to try to help us. My understanding of our conversation was this. If that's inaccurate in any way, please let me know. And then it's documented. I've talked about this many times. There's nothing magical about a signature or having a document that says contract at the top. It's really just confirmation that the two sides have agreed on the material terms. And as long as you have that spelled out in an email or any other kind of written document, I think that should be sufficient.
That's really, really good counsel, Bo. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, this is going to be interesting the next couple of days, next couple of months with getting things reopened. And
yeah, it's tough. And I mean, no one is a bad guy here. If you have a landlord, for example, saying, look, I really need you to pay me rent, it's not because that landlord is necessarily a bad person. It may be that the bank is telling the landlord, if you don't pay us, then we're going to foreclose on you. And so they're relying on you. So everybody has been put in a tough position right now. It's not just one segment of society, it's everyone. And that's why, again, like I said, the only way through it is for us all to work together and be understanding and just do everything we can to help each other.
Wonderful advice. Wonderful advice. Is there anything else that you would like the small business owners watching to know about this pandemic and how to deal with contracts? Or
well, certainly my advice to all of my clients has been to stay abreast of any type of government programs that may be able to offer any relief. And luckily, I consulted my clients. Look, the day this becomes available, jump on it immediately, because there's no way of knowing if these funds are going to last forever, as we saw. They ran out this week. So definitely keep informed. Put your applications in immediately if some relief does become available. Beyond that, just use common sense. Don't rush out to reopen in a situation that may not be safe. Um, I keep hearing people that they look like they are balancing the loss of life with the economic impact. And to me, there's no balancing act there. If I'd rather see my business close than it be responsible for a death, I mean, that's just absurd. So we've got to maintain nothing. I get that nothing will ever be 100% safe, but we have to use common sense, listen to the medical experts. Don't pay attention to, people that are throwing these crackpot theories out there, and this is all just, some kind of conspiracy to shut down our. No, it's not. It's a pandemic, and people are dying, and people are getting sick, and we have to do our best to try to look out for each other.
Absolutely. Bo, if anybody has a question they would like to ask you, how can they get in touch with you? What's your phone number? What's your website?
Sure. The easiest way to get in touch with me is via email, probably right now, because I'm in and out of the office. We're practicing social distancing just like everyone else is. It's cbowen, CBOWEN, at thebowenlawgroup.com, cbowen at thebowenlawgroup.com, or my direct extension here in my office is 912-544-2052. You're welcome to leave me a message, and I'm happy to get back to you as soon as I can.
Bo, thank you so much for being on Open for Business and sharing these really valuable tips. And everybody, thank you for watching, and we'll tune in next time. Be well.